But without further ado, he's already been introduced tonight, the host of the show, and our very own Clan Forbes Society President and CEO, Bart Forbes. And I hand the helm back over to you, sir.
I am delighted to be a part of our very first online clan gathering. We hope to do more, and we'll talk about that. That's why I want to make sure this was a success, because one of the things that really piqued my interest and really goaded me to reboot the Clan Forbes Society and to create a Clan Forbes tour was my tour of the castles and mansion houses of Castle Forbes and other castles and mansion, other Forbes venues. And so that's why I thought it'd be a great way to start off our first clan gathering by exploring some of the castles and mansion houses of the House of Forbes that all of you have been part of. And so what I've done is I've created a slideshow and a video, and I see that many of the folks who have contributed photographs are here with us. And so it's about an 8-minute video. And if I could ask each of you a few minutes to talk about your experiences. And I'm particularly happy to see Maggie Foster here with her mom. Is that your mom? Because they went on the Clan Forbes tour of 1990. And that's how we're going to start off the video if I don't screw this up. But we're going to have a video of some of the photographs. And then afterwards, we will have a few comments from people who have offered up some of their photographs. So here we go. Did you hear that okay?
Yeah.
Very good,
That's
Bart.
wonderful.
That was wonderful.
Great. Wonderful.
Awesome. Choked up at a few thoughts.
Well, I'll make sure that you have access to that online as well. So I want to go through, talk to some people who are here. But first off, Maggie Foster, you were on the Clan Forbes tour in 1990, and you and your lovely mother were in that photograph 30 years ago, and you haven't changed.
What a liar. But thank you.
Forbes. So talk to us about your experience with the Clan Forbes tour a little bit.
Well, high point of our entire lives, and that's saying something because she's been everywhere. Amazing traveler. We had a ball. Some of the things that stick out in my head are the real virtuosity of the bus driver, because we kept going on these tiny little places with lots of cliffs and we never fell off, which was really good. Druminnor was under reconstruction, so there was stooping involved to get in and out of the hallways, which was fun. There was a very large staircase that I think was 2 horses abreast could climb. I forget which castle that was in, but you will know. Of course, dinner at Castle Forbes with the Forbes family, which was wonderful. What else? Craigievar.
Castle Forbes clan is alive and well deep in the heart of Texas.
That's true.
If I may, just for a minute, please indulge me. I would like to share something with everybody. Not only did Maggie enjoy the tour, but it became an inspiration for her. And you may have seen this on our website. Maggie is the stage name of the nom de plume for the wonderful mystery writer. And I have a blog here, and her first book was The Arms of Death. And she has a whole series of them. And the protagonist, Maggie, what's her name?
Her name is Ginny Forbes.
Oh.
Virginia and Forbes.
And you're up to how many books now? 6, 5?
If you will allow me.
There we go.
Out.
Silent.
And I'm working on 5 and 6.
Great. So we have a noted author, and there's a blog about her. She is on Amazon. You can also download her books, as I have done. They're a good read. I love mysteries. So Maggie is one of our advisors, and she has a great interest in Heritage of Forbes. And so thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Anne, you're here.
Yes.
What reminiscences or what can you relate about your trip to the castles of the House of Forbes, and what were some of the big memories for you?
Well, first off, thank you very much for the book. And I'm glad I had a copy of that before going, because I didn't have a lot of time to do much homework, and I wouldn't have been able to see what I saw without that book. So that helped tremendously. So, and yes, that is.
I should have had a copy here. Sorry.
We had a fabulous.
Oh, behind me.
Is that what I wish I had. Yes, I wish I had a copy with me right now. I'm not at home, but yes, it was fabulous. My sister and I went. My sister is Carolyn Forbes, and she's not here today because she doesn't have very strong internet. So hers would not support this. So she's here in spirit, and I'll send her pictures from it. And so we are from Mississippi originally, and our father, not to make it sad, but passed when I was 2, and I didn't know much about the Forbes family or our background at all, because I didn't have any relatives to reference. So I'm coming late to the party of just enjoying this, and I've been off on a tangent, but I went to the Central Florida Highlands game only in 2018, and it sparked my interest, and everybody was fabulous at the booth, and pointing out our tartans and where we're from. And so I did a DNA test, and I found out, okay, I am from that part of Scotland and Aberdeen, and so it fascinated me. So I talked my sister into going to Scotland, and the book helped. And we looked online. And we stayed at Forbes Castle, the Castle Forbes, and had a fabulous time. We had dinner with Lord Forbes and Jenny, and she cooked for us. Everything, all the vegetables were grown right in her garden, and it was fabulous. And then we got to see some of the castles. I didn't see as many, and I was hoping to be there right now this year and with my sister, but of course we all know it wasn't a good time this year. So very much looking forward to going back. So maybe with the Clan Forbes tour. So.
Great.
And everybody was fabulous at the castles. They were so open to telling me so many, giving me recommendations on where to go. And we went to Larnach, and one lady at Corgarff Castle, her husband was polishing his buckles and everything, and she would tell me exactly how to get there, where to park, and what time to be there, and all. It's great. So.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing your photographs. I wish we could share all of them. You have some great photographs all together. Jerry Forbes.
Yes.
Loved your photographs. What can you tell us about them?
Well, I only picked, I had, as I'm sure everyone else has, probably 100. So I only sent you 3, if I remember right. And I took my daughter and son-in-law, the Jacobs, along with my sister, who is Forbes Darnell. She lives in Arizona. And we went and stayed at the Forbes Castle, which was a great thing. And as the previous Ann said, Jenny was a great cook and a great sponsor. We had a great time. And so we visited a number of castles, and we had Andrew Hill Forbes was our guide. And that was really good because, his family. And so, and we enjoyed the whole tour. And I guess that's probably it. I did give, I guess I'll just say it, is the Forbes Castle has a physics textbook that I wrote because I gave it to him. That's all.
So if you're bored at the castle, like that would happen.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you, Jerry. The next person did send me 300 photographs. Didn't you, Dick Forbes? Sorry. First, Jerry Forbes, where are you from? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I grew up in Illinois, but I live in Southern Maryland right now. So, it's very close to DC. So.
Right. Okay, Dick Forbes. Wonderful photographs, lots of them. Where are you from?
I live in Glenarm, Illinois. Nice Scottish name, Glenarm. It's just a few miles south of Springfield, the capital. And I've been to Scotland 3 times. Once as an engineering student on an exchange program. My roommate and I were in Copenhagen for the summer, working as engineers for 2 power plants. And when our tour of duty was done, we started visiting around Europe, and I wanted to go find my Scottish ancestors. So just kind of a comical thing. I was pretty young and naive, and we had hitchhiked over to the castle. And I just marched right up to the castle door, knocked on it. This older gentleman opened the door and said, "Yes, what do you want?" And I said, "I'm Dick Forbes from America." Expecting something, really terrific. It's like, oh my goodness, you must get 1,000 of these. There were so many Forbes. But anyway, we spent a few minutes talking with them. And my roommate and I had just been backpacking and hitchhiking across Europe and staying with some people we had met previously. And he asked Lord Forbes, as Malcolm's father, asked us, "Well, do you have a place to stay? What's your plans?" We said, "Well, we really hadn't thought that far yet." So he said, "Well, let me call one of the people that work on the property and see maybe they could put you up for the evening." So we ended up staying with one of the, I guess, tenants, but we slept in a haymow because they didn't have enough room in their small house, which was okay for us. We were young and adventurous, so that was great. So that was sort of the highlight, I guess, of my first visit. The second visit, I went with a son and 3 daughters and their husbands. And because of various logistics, not all of my family could go. And we had a wonderful time. Saw a lot of the Forbes castles and just toured around. But we had kind of an interesting thing. We went to visit Huntley Castle. And there was an entrance fee. And there was a little hut that you had to go into and purchase your ticket. And I had gotten sweatshirts for all of us to wear with Forbes logo. And so this person who was working, a lady, was filling out some papers, told us how much it was, looking down at the desk, didn't pay much attention. We gave her some cash and she said, fine. She looked up and she saw us, saw the emblem, and she goes, oh, so have you come to storm the castle then? We had no idea really what she meant. Then she explained that the Gordons and the Forbes had a running feud, sort of like the Campbells and McCoys, I guess. And that was kind of a funny moment. We just kind of taken aback by that. This last trip was in 2018, and this was the first trip for my wife to go to Scotland, and I'd kind of planned everything out, had an itinerary of where we were going to go. After studying it for a while and doing a little research, she said, this isn't going to work. And I said, why is that? She said, well, I want to go to some more places. I said, like where? And she said, well, I want to go to Orkney. I'd like to go to the Shetland Islands. And I said, you got to be kidding me. The Shetland Islands, do you know where they're at? I said, they don't even show up on a map of Scotland because they're so far north. But anyway, we ended up renting a car, and she agreed to drive on the wrong side of the road. I call it the wrong side of the road because it's not the right side of the road. And we traveled about 1,800 miles, managed to get through hundreds of roundabouts the wrong direction, opposite direction. And we didn't have any accidents, but we had one close call because going around a roundabout and then turning to the right, she automatically went to the right side of the road and there was a car. And I guess they must have known we were from America because they just shook their heads and you could tell they were saying something, but I didn't want to hear what it was. But anyway, we had a wonderful time, visited with Lord Malcolm Forbes again, and we were able to get a tour. Some of the pictures you saw were of the tour that we took. And basically, that's it.
Dick, this time did you have reservations at Castle Forbes?
No, I just contacted him and told him what our itinerary was and asked him if we could, I wanted to bring the family and have them meet him. We did, the previous time we had stayed overnight, and so we had reservations. And
but you didn't just knock on the door this time?
Did not knock on the door this time. So, but he was waiting for us, so that was not a surprise.
Great. Well, thank you for sharing. You had a lot of great photographs. I had a pick from them all. Next up, I hear from Nancy Forbes. You met some wonderful people while you were over there last time.
Well, I will say my first time in Scotland was in 1973.
And Nancy, where are you from?
I was doing a junior year abroad.
Nancy, where are you from?
Oh, I live in Fairfax, Virginia. That's where I live. So I was in Spain, you know, studying and struggling, and I said, oh God, I've got to hear my language. So I took a trip to London, and then anyway, that was so long ago, I don't even remember. So a couple years back, I decided I wanted to go, and I talked to Bart, and he was great. He put me in touch with Jamie, Lord Temple, and I began to correspond with Jamie. I sort of do my own thing. I'm very independent. I've lived in Europe before. I like traveling by myself. I'm divorced. So we talked, and he said, let me set up a week-long itinerary for you. You should see this, and you should see this. And then one day we'll do the Forbes thing, and I'll spend the day with you. And I said, that'd be perfect. So I did Airbnb, which I would like to do, and stayed in Inverness. I flew into Inverness and from DC, and I stayed in Inverness with this lovely couple. It was really great. First time I'd ever driven on the left side of the road, and I give myself pat in the back because it really worked out okay. And so he had you should see this, and then you should see these picnic and gardens, and you should go to see this and that, so it was wonderful. I kind of had it all planned out. Several distilleries. I'm a Speyside girl. So the day that I spent with Jamie, unfortunately, Lord Forbes was not available that day, and Andrew Forbes was ill. So it was a day that Craigievar was closed to the public, which was wonderful. So I got my own special tour and with Jamie, and it was great. We went over to Alex Forbes' house for lunch, and it was wonderful. I mean, I looked at Alex is a historian, and particularly of Britain and particularly Scotland. So we talked a lot, and then Jamie had to go back to Edinburgh, and so Alex and I had kind of struck up this correspondence on history, and he has schooled me. He has given me this incredible bibliography, which I have read, and so I have kept up a correspondence with him, and it's been great. So I had one day there, but and then I kind of spent, I guess, 9 days there on my own, and I did Aberdeenshire and Inverness and stuff, and it was great. So I really thank Bart for connecting me to Jamie and Alex, and it was super. Really, there's a lot more to see in Scotland than just Inverness and Aberdeenshire and things. I'm retiring next year, and my plan is to spend 3-4 months a year in Italy, where I have family actually. So I hope to be able to go often. I really hope to be able to go often. So it's pretty cheap to travel between European countries. Anyway, that's my story. I'll stick with it. And it was a really lovely trip. Really
Great.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Nancy.
Oh, wait. And Jerry, I'm also,
ask you. Yes.
so it's nice to meet you, Jerry Forbes.
Nice to meet you.
Fellow physicist.
And also mention about Jerry Schoenfeld, Tolquhon Castle. Jerry.
Oh, is Jerry here? Oh, Jerry, is Jerry? Oh, okay. So the day I went to Tolquhon Castle, nobody was there. I went mid-October. And so I started chit-chatting with Jerry Schofield, who's sort of the caretaker. He runs the gift shop. He kind of does some of the tours and things. So we started chit-chatting, and I said, well, my name is Ford. So he started telling me all the history, and he took me around. And so I've sort of struck up a correspondence with him. And unfortunately, I guess he wasn't able to join us, but he's a lovely, lovely person. And he hopes to be able to welcome as many of you as want to go to Tolquhon, because he's the guy there. He's the man.
Yeah, he actually was going to meet us there this past week when we had the So thank you for that connection. Lori Caldwell, are you on audio now?
Yes, I am.
Yay! Talk to us about your trip.
Okay. First, I want to show your book.
We don't see you.
Can you see it?
No, you're not on camera.
Oh, I'm not. Well, that's good. I'm glad. Anyway, I have your book.
Okay.
And it was a great help, too.
Yes.
Well, my name's Lori Caldwell. I live in West Farmington, Ohio. My grandmother was a Forbes, as we're known in Ohio. and they were the first settlers and some of the first settlers in Ohio, descended from John Forbes, son of Reverend John Forbes, who came to Holland by way of Scotland. So that's my connection. My husband and my 40th wedding anniversary, and his name was Bart also. So it was our 40th wedding anniversary last year, so we took the trip of a lifetime. We spent 2 weeks. We started out in Ireland, and we took the ferry across to Scotland. And I highly recommend that, taking the ferry. It was great. We went up to Corgarff Castle, where Alexander Forbes died in the battle around the year 1300, which is descended from him also. And then we started doing Aberdeenshire, and we loved it. We met Lord Forbes, and he took us on a tour of the castle, of course. And we went, because my ancestor, the Reverend John Forbes, who is the son of William, he's buried on the property in a little church where he was the preacher. And that castle, it's a ruins now. I mean, the church is a kirk, as they call it, is a ruins. But he walked us down there through the sheep pasture, and we got to see that and all the gravestones. But his gravestone doesn't exist anymore because that was 1634. And then we went, I did not get to meet Alex. He was out of town, but he told us just show up and walk around the grounds and, you know, take your own private little tour. So we did that. And while we were there, we were kind of amused because the Royal Mail came and they put the mail in the archer slit right beside the front door. And we kind of got kicked out of that. And let me check my notes here. And we saw the recumbent stone circle, of course. And we went to Craigievar. And the docent there, he was great. He told us all kinds of family stories and about the ghost. And he offered, because we were the last tour of the day, and he told us he would take us down past Corse Castle and to this little cemetery, forgotten cemetery, on the grounds of this farm that is a Forbes family cemetery, and the crypt there dates back to the 1400s. And John, the other Reverend John Forbes, which is my Reverend's nephew, he would be the son of William that did Craigievar Castle, is buried in that crypt, and probably his father and father before them. And that was, we had a good time doing that. And I think that's probably about covers it pretty much, our experience. We had a great time. I want to go back.
Good. Good to hear that. Is Heather Forbes on? I don't see her in the list. If not, Stuart, you were in the picture with me and Lord Forbes. Talk about your trip.
Okay, we had a very short trip. We were only in Scotland for 2 weeks. The Forbes part of it was only 3 days. We rented a car for 3 days and drove through Dundee, where my grandmother is from, and Aberdeen, where my grandfather was from, and then up to Forbes Castle. It was 3 days of white knuckle driving for myself, driving on the left side of the road, with my son Mark as the co-pilot, and getting frustrated with my driving. But
explain how old he is.
Mark is currently 25.
But at the time he was what, 21, right?
That was 4 years ago, so 21. We had my daughter with us as well, so this was my entire family going out to see Scotland, with a little side trip to see some Forbes history, which was really great. We had the opportunity to have dinner with Lord and Lady Forbes, and with Bart and Tony, who also spent the night there. So it was a great introduction to the Forbes clan and to Bart and Tony. It was a great trip for us. It was a short trip, so of course my wife and myself want to go back. Also, my 3 brothers want to go to Scotland now and also go to Forbes Castle, because they've never been to Scotland either. So given that one of them has retired this year, I retired this year, so next year it will probably happen. we hope.
Great.
Anyway, it was great meeting you, Barb, and Tony. Pleasure. Maybe we'll meet again sometime.
Great.
Oh, and I'm from Burlington, Ontario, Canada, which is just a little bit west of Toronto.
Great, thank you. As I mentioned at the onset, I had a 3-day Forbes Clan tour back in 2016. That's where I met Stuart and his family. And some of y'all are really more courageous than I was. I was not about to drive on those roundabouts. So we were very fortunate that we worked with Jamie Lord Semple, who was a Forbes. His grandfather owned Craigievar Castle. And he took us on a private 3-day tour around all those castles. And he got us in to see Alex Forbes of Druminnor. Of course, we stayed for 2 nights, as was mentioned, at Castle Forbes, but also he had an insight into the heritage of Forbes, which is really quite spectacular. More importantly than the history and the heritage, he knew the gossip. Oh my gosh, we have a family.